Gentlemen, thanks a lot for Pat Mountain for inviting me here. I must say you worked a miracle to find a hotel that doesn't have it's not had a boat full of migrants in here.
It was a job, I can tell you.
I can imagine it was, yeah. I can't see dinghy down the car park, so I think we're okay. But never mind. First thing, I've been more serious on immigration. I don't know whether you saw on social media a guy called Wesley Russell of Patriotic Alternative speak at Dunstable Church. You know, you got to be honest, wasn't he good? What was the intoxicating message he had for the audience when he was warmly received? However, the organisation he works for, Patriotic Alternative, I view to be toxic, is a nasty, fascist, Holocaust-denying organisation, and I want to completely distance myself from them and any particularly extreme views they have. I'm sure most of you guys here in the room feel the same way. Anyway, moving on to the scale of the problem that Britain has with immigration. Between 2015 and 2017, Gallup interviewed 453,122 adults in 152 countries from around the world. They extrapolated from the results that 750 million people would emigrate. That's 10% of the world's population about. And of course, their choice of moving to would be Europe, North America, Australasia. Very few wanted to go to any developing world countries anywhere else. The interesting thing was 34 million would choose to live in Britain, and that would be basically our population going up by 50%. And at the moment, we do have safe and legal immigration. 1 million people were allowed in last year, many being Chinese and Ukrainians, which I don't really object to that much. But the point is, we as a society must have the right to set the limits on the numbers of people that come here. And if it's zero or even a negative figure, so be it. It should be down to the electorate to make those decisions. For the government, not for the government to tell us what to do. And looking at the state of immigration at the moment, those 34 million people coming over here, at the moment we have an infrastructure that is completely inadequate for the job. At the moment, trying to get a GP appointment, hospitals, schools. The infrastructure in this country is completely overused and stretched to the limit. Youngsters can't afford to rent, let alone buy a place at the moment. So, really, we have to think as a country what way we want to do it. And if I can talk about the cost of immigration at the moment, Milton Friedman, the economist, said you can have a choice of open immigration or a welfare state. You can't have both, and look at the result. The costs of channel migration, very, very conservatively, is £6 billion. There's 11 million pensioners in this country. That's enough to pay them £550 each. That would be more than cover their energy bills. I've also looked at the economic figures looking back on the immigration from 2000. We put on net 10 million people from immigration. Our GDP per person per capita was £40,000 a year in 2000. It rose to only £47,500 in 2019 before the pandemic hit, and it's gone down even further. The immigration has not made us rich. It's made employers lazy. It's made employers look for easy solutions rather than improve the quality, the efficiency, and the quality of their company. Right. And also as well, just to rub our noses in it, Nigel this morning said there were 2 million people on the council waiting list nationwide. 2 million people. Just to rub your noses in it, currently at the moment, the Minister for Levelling Up, Michael Gove, has found a treasure chest of £500 million to spend purely on Afghan and Ukrainian migrants. Not a penny will go to building houses for British people. I find that absolutely appalling. Excuse me. And what kind of people are coming over on the dinghies at the moment? There's a German economist called Dr. Ludger Vossmann. And an article in Die Welt, the German Federal Education Minister quoted his work. They found that 2/3 of people that came over from Africa and the Middle East were functionally illiterate in their own language. Functionally, generally speaking, what you have is in most of these developing world countries, education is free up to the age of 12, and after that you've got to pay for it, including from age of 12 to 18, and from university you have to pay for it yourself, and obviously the vast majority can't afford it. And also as well, the German Education Ministry set up courses to bring some of the migrants up to the levels of 16-year-old Germans. It's a 2-year course, had a 70% dropout rate. And this one's even better, wait for it. Scania in Sweden employed 100 Somalians. Yeah, you can see what's coming, can't you? 90 left within 3 months. Most couldn't get out of bed in the morning and turn up to work on time. They couldn't work as part of a team, and they wouldn't take instructions from women. You know, quite frankly, you know, these people, and no doubt they want to have some chain migration, bring in their families and their grandparents, parents, brothers, sisters. These people will always be a burden on society, and will be net receivers of taxpayers' cash. And because of the lack of education, many will be drawn into the black economy. You know, if you think having your car washed down at Sainsbury's car park on a Saturday morning is where it's going to lead to, no, it's going to be drug dealing, it's going to be violence, it's going to be people trafficking again. And if you want one of the most remarkable, one of the most statistics I've come across when it comes to immigration, in Sweden they found out the people who were fleeing war-torn and persecution and things like that, they found 79% of asylum seekers who were granted asylum had gone home for holidays. Oh, by the way, sorry, it's a true story. I think I wasn't going to add this in the script, but I think the figure for Germany is 60% or 63%, and the Germans have turned around and said to them, if you go back home holiday, you can stay there, you know. But seriously, 79% of Swedish asylum seekers had gone home for a holiday. Okay. Well, I wasn't aiming to be funny, but you know. Well, okay. Well, next I want to concentrate on is public opinion. What does the population, you know, which probably ties in with Lembit, you know. When you look at public opinion, to what degree has the government understood our needs and done things that we broadly want doing? I looked at the work of cultural historian Dr. Marcus Collins, and he looked at public attitudes to immigration between 1950 to 1985. And like today, 60 to 75% of people in this country have always wanted less immigration and objected to mass immigration. You know, the current figure at the moment is 62%. Excuse me. And when it came to Enoch Powell's 1968 Rivers of Blood speech, Gallup found 74% of people agreed with him, and the national opinion polls was 67%. And if you also want to look about humour as well, Dr. Rakib wrote an article. They did a survey in Luton North and Luton South on what Muslim attitudes were to British Muslims' attitude to immigration. 58% and 59% of Luton Muslims wanted to see less immigration. And moving on here, to be slightly more serious, if you look at some of the social attitudes that some of the immigrants have in this country, Channel 4 did some work on looking at British Pakistani attitudes to many social things. For example, 23% wanted to live under Sharia law. But In balance, there were two positive things. 86% of British Muslims felt proud to be British. They identified as being British. And what 94% of them liked about Britain was people left them alone to get on with their lives and their religion, which I look upon as a nod to the Enlightenment of the 17th century. Anyway, so maybe there is some hope there on the horizon. But however, 52% of British Muslims would like to see homosexual acts made illegal. Not a case of, just illegalised or whatever. They want people prosecuted and put in jail. That is how I construe that. Also, in the wake of the Oxford rapes in 2017, seven British Pakistani men were jailed for raping girls between the age of 11 and 15. The Daily Telegraph interviewed Dr. Taj Hargay. He was the Imam of the Oxford Islamic congregation. And he said, and I quote, "Bound up with religion and race, in mosques across this country, a different doctrine is taught. One that denigrates all women, but treats whites with particular contempt. Men are taught that women are second-class citizens, little more than chattels or possessions, over whom they have absolute authority." End of quote. Dr. Hargay goes on to add, their dress code, quote, "Their dress code, from miniskirts to sleeveless tops, is deemed to reflect their impure and immoral outlook. According to this mentality, these white women deserve to be punished for their behaviour by being exploited and degraded." Right, I've also spoken to other grooming gang victims. And some of their rapists actually use the phrase rape jihad. And others, while these 13, 12-year-old, 14-year-old girls were being raped, some of the Muslims recited verses of the Quran to absolve them from wrongdoing. In Manchester, Judge Tina Landau jailed Mohammed Salim for 33 years. And I quote from the court papers, "It was your distorted belief that Islam entitled you to rape her on many occasions." In Douglas Murray's The Strange Death of Europe on page 196, interviewed a 33-year-old African Eritrean asylum seeker who explained to him, quote, "Men have weaknesses, and when they see someone smiling, it is difficult to control. If someone wants a lady, he can just take her and he will not be punished in Eritrea." And believe you me, there was lots of things I could have put in here, but as it's been recorded, I thought I'd best leave them out. There is far worse out there. And if you want to speak to me at the bar afterwards, I'll tell you what they are. It involves broken bottles, but anyway, it's by the by. And if we want to look at the microcosm of how we ourselves are at the bottom of the pile at the moment, you only have to look at the case of the 14-year-old autistic boy at Kettlethorpe High School in Wakefield. This 14-year-old boy apparently slightly scuffed a Quran, had a bit of black stuff on the right-hand side, but he scuffed on the floor. And he was given death threats by Muslim pupils, and also the local mosque and its acolytes threatened to go down to the school and picket it. And of course, let's confirm the autistic boy had death threats as well. And what did the establishment do about it? The school, the head, the police, the Department of Education came out in favour of the Muslims and against the boy who was getting the death threats who'd done nothing wrong. Sorry, that is what this country is like these days, and I hate it. And so basically what I'm saying is, I'm afraid to say, when you get on a dinghy in the Channel and land at Dover, and these migrants disembark, they won't become John Stuart Mill libertarians overnight. They will not share our liberal, enlightened and democratic traditions. So I'm afraid to say I think many of them will be completely lost on us. I believe immigration will be will be the biggest problem that this country will have for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. And the more that come in here, I think the more friction, more friction this country will have, and the more Manchester arenas we will have too. And when it comes to the current British government, I think Suella Braverman has her heart in the right place, but Sunak and the civil service won't let her do a damn thing. And Sunak doesn't care because he's so rich he can go anywhere in the world anyway. So what this country needs at the moment is a change of civil service and civil servants. And by crikey, guys, you guys at UKIP need to make sure we have a change of government. Thank you very much.